Today we're going to be doing a comparison between the M6 and the M50. So let's get into it. So let's talk about the differences in these two cameras. So obviously the flip out screen, the M50 has a fully articulating flip out screen, like so. You can go like that, full like almost 360. But the M6 only has a screen, or flip out screen only goes up and down, and you can also go like that and, you know, move out like this, like so. Also, it can tilt down like so. The M6 unfortunately doesn't have a viewfinder, but the M50 does have a viewfinder and EVF right there. The M6 does have an attachment that you can buy so that it can have a viewfinder, but you know, it's just extra money you have to spend. The M6 has a pop-out flash like so, but M50 is more like a pull-up flash. So you'd have to like move it up yourself, which I don't really mind because I don't really use the flash. The M6 has an exposure dial right here, while the M50 doesn't. It just has the regular mode, the mode dial, and then they both have that selection dial right here. On the M6, the record button is right here in the on the back of the camera, while the M50's record button is in the front, which I think is a lot more useful, because if you're vlogging and you're holding it towards you like this, you would have to flip the entire camera around like that, press it, and then you're recording. Compared to this, where you can just, you'll be holding it out and you can like literally have a finger out and then just press it and turn record and stop recording. I think they placed the recording button in a much better place on here. So basically the M6 has like a wheel kind of thing that you have here, and the M50 is just like up, down, left, right kind of button thing. What I did notice though, since the M6 is supposed to be a more higher end Canon mirrorless camera, I noticed that the buttons do feel a little bit more on the high end. When you press the buttons on the M6, they feel really solid and you get a really nice click on it. Especially with the record button, you get a really nice click if you actually feel like you're hitting it. But with the M50, it's supposedly a lower model, and the buttons do feel kind of like squishy, not as clicky as the M6's button. Especially with the record button, there'll be times where I'll press it to record, I have my finger near it and it'll already start recording, and like it doesn't have much of a click. It's really there's really no sound when you press it. It's very soft. The M50's, the buttons don't really have much of like feedback, while the buttons on the M6 are very responsive and have a really good click, so you know when you're navigating, it's a lot better experience. So both of these, the M50 and the M6, they both have facial recognition and facial tracking, but the M50 takes it a step further and added eye tracking. It's really useful in portrait photography, because one of the rules of thumb for portraits, when taking portraits, is to keep the eyes in focus. And with the M50, the eye detection is very useful if you're taking portraits. Fortunately, the M6 doesn't have that, only the facial detection. So the pros on the M6 is that it has really good video quality, it takes great pictures. The build of the overall camera is really solid. It has more of a metal feel compared to the M50, where it feels more plastic, but it's still like a solid build. Since M6 is a higher model, you kind of feel like you're getting like a more premium build with the M6, while this is a more plasticky entry level, but at the same time it's still really good. So the build on the M6 definitely feels like a more premium build, but the M50, although feels a little bit plasticky, is still very well built, and the features on the M50, I think, makes up for the build that it doesn't have compared to the M6. So with the M6, you can tilt it downwards to be able to hold it high above your head and still be able to see the screen. You can flip it, or you can move it to this position where you can be taking pictures like this and have it really low and still see the screen. And you can also hold it like so if you're vlogging or taking selfies. The flip screen here is really good. But on the M50, you can pretty much do the same thing. You can tilt the screen downward like so, and you can still hold it up and still see the screen. You can flip it up and you can bring the camera really low and still see the screen. But what's different about this is that when you go into like selfie mode and vlog or vlog mode, it flips out to the side, which is great because for most vloggers, they would have a mic mounted on top of the camera to get some really high quality audio. But the problem with the M6 is that that's totally out of the question, because once you put the mic on there and flip the screen up, it probably comes up to like that much, and the screen is still flipped and you can barely see it. I've done it several times where I would have the mic on top, but I have no idea what the framing looks like. So it ended up looking like this with a huge mic on top. So the M50's design in terms of adding like a mic for vloggers and stuff is much better compared to this. But if you're not using a mic and you're just using the on-camera mic, the on-camera mic is still good, but having an external mic is always going to be a better option for audio. Alright, so I'm going to talk about a little bit of the cons of the M6 compared to the M50. So one of the cons I have about this is that the M6 kind of feels weird in your hand. I think it's because of this like little grip here on the side. When you like wrap your hand around it, it just kind of feels like you're gonna drop it a lot. And my hands aren't that big too, so especially if you have really big hands, it's gonna be kind of a problem because you're gonna be holding something so small on here. But yeah, it feels really weird to be like shooting with it. You're always gonna drop it, so I recommend using a strap whenever you're using the M6 for anything. For the M50, they corrected that slightly because they made this little handle here come out more compared to the M6. If you see here at the bottom, this dot right here, I just use as a marker. The dot has more space on its left and right, so it's a slightly wide. But if you look at the dot on the M6, it's, you know, the dot has a lot less room if you look at it side by side. So you can tell that they widened it a little bit slightly to make it feel better in your hand, and it does. It feels way better to hold the M50 compared to the M6. That's a great thing they improved on in this model. And the last con I have about the M6 is that it didn't come with a viewfinder. When I initially bought it, I thought, you know, a viewfinder wouldn't be that big of a deal because I was using it for pictures. So I was like, well, it's not that big of a deal. But then as I was using it, it actually kind of became a bigger deal, because when I was like forced to take pictures with this, it was really hard to take pictures with just the screen, especially like if it's really bright outside and you can't, you know, the screen brightness is at its highest, but it's super bright. It was really hard to get a good look at what you're shooting, especially with a screen. You know, just using a screen with no viewfinder. Well, you can buy a viewfinder attachment for the M6, but it's kind of pricey the last time I looked at it. I think it'd just be better if it just came with the camera, it was built in. Using the viewfinder in the M50, I can say that not having a viewfinder in the camera, I really miss the viewfinder on here, because it's easier to take pictures because you can accurately frame it with your eye. And you're more stable with it because you have two hands and then your eyebrow to really stabilize the photo, compared to this where you're holding it out like this and you have only 2 points of stability. I mean, you can put your eye here, but you won't be able to see the screen. Having the viewfinder is like a huge help. So although the M6 is supposedly a more higher model than the M50, there are some advantages that the M50 has over the M6. But first, let me tell you about the advantages the M6 has over the M50. First of all, the M6 came out several years ago, so it's going to be less expensive. So it's going to be a lot cheaper to get an M6 compared to this, which came out as of this video, April 2018. This one's gonna have a lot better battery life compared to the M50. This one has an LP12 battery, while the M6 has a LP17 battery. And you can just tell visually that two batteries. The M6's one is gonna be slightly bigger than the M50. But yeah, the M6 is gonna have a better battery life than the M50. The M6 is thinner and has a bigger raw buffer. Now for the M50, it has a long list of advantages over the M6. The M50 has a tilt and swivel screen. This screen flips out and it can tilt and you can go back and forth, and it's really good for vlogging and whatnot. But what the cool thing is too is that you can flip it in and then just close it like that to protect the screen on the inside. And you also have the electronic viewfinder, and it's pretty much, it's a small version of the screen that's right here. What's cool too is that you can record video by looking into the viewfinder. Kind of like the old days where whenever they recorded video, they would have to look into it. You can still record video and still control all the settings, except, you know, you won't have the touch to focus and all that other stuff that you have with the screen. The viewfinder is really good. The M50 can shoot 4K video, but the 4K is gonna be cropped in a little bit since it's a crop sensor. And the 4K is not gonna have the dual pixel autofocus that Canon has. It's just gonna be contrast detection. Contrast detection works really well, but in the dark settings, it's gonna be searching and looking for something to focus on. And a lot of people are saying that the 4K was garbage, like it's unusable, you can't use it. But I found a use for this 4K. So we're at the beach, and there's these little tiny birds that were really nice, and I wanted to get some nice shots of them. But whenever I got close to them, they would run away. So I thought, oh, I'll just use the 4K to get closer without actually moving closer, since it's cropped in. And so I was able to get nice shots of the birds. But not only that, in post-production, I can, you know, use Final Cut, or I can use my editor and just crop in, since it is 4K. So there is a use for the 4K on the M50. I also took a shot of a sailboat when we were at the beach, and on regular 1080, it looked like it was really far away, and it was a really wide shot. But when I turned on the 4K, it looked like it was super zoomed in. And after that, I can just crop it to give it more zoom, since it's in 4K. So that's the way I use the 4K. I won't be using it for vlogging, because although 4K is really cool, 1080 is the standard, and it still works, and it's still usable. The M50 also has a higher resolution screen. Well, when you're recording and look at the screen, you have more detail on the screen to help you judge like the focus and composition, and it helps you just take better photos and video overall. And it also can shoot slow motion videos. It shoots 120 frames, but it's only gonna be at 720p, and really that's up to you if that's a good or bad thing, but it's cool to have on the camera. And you also have the higher extended ISO, which goes to 51,000 compared to 25,000. There are a lot of differences, but there are also a lot of similarities. For example, they have focus peaking, they both have their touch screen, built-in Wi-Fi, NFC, Bluetooth. They both have internal flashes and external mic jacks, and also HDMI outputs on the side here. But all in all, both of these cameras were marketed towards vloggers, and in my opinion, after using the M6 and the M50, I would more likely go with the M50 because it covers all the bases that I need as a vlogger, because I have a lot of vlogs on this channel and it had everything I needed. For example, I started off with the M6, so what I really needed is a screen that kind of flipped out so I can kind of see myself. But not only that, it had to have a mic input because audio is really important. The M50 wasn't out yet when I bought the M6, so it was kind of like, I'll just go with the M6 for now. And then when the M50 was announced, it kind of solved all the problems I had with the M6. Now that the screen flipped to the side and it didn't block the mic. But what I used to do before I got the M50 was I had to put this really weird setup up. I'll show you right now. So this is what I had to do every time I wanted to vlog with this camera. So I bought this this flash mount, thingy, and I just disassembled it. And so you would have to screw it on here like that, just like this, so it comes off kind of to the side, and this is where the mic would be. You would have to mount the mic on here, plug it in here, and then you could, you know, flip your screen out just like that. So you had this really weird setup where I flipped the screen up and I had to tighten this and then position this, put the mic on, plug it in, and at the bottom here is where I would have to screw on the tripod mount, and it'll always get loose because this is screwed into the camera and then the tripod mount is screwed onto this, so whenever I move it around it would loosen and I'd always have to go back and tighten it. It was always a big mess just to get this thing ready for vlogging, and there would be some days where, like, you know, I'll be sick of it, like I don't want to have to deal with all the flash mount things. So what I would do is just stick the mic on top here, plug it in, and kind of, you know, the mic would be kind of on there. Yeah, I'll stick it on like this, lean it back a little, and vlog like this. And even so, this didn't really work either, because what would happen is the mic, not only is the mic in the way, in order for the screen to fully rotate, it would have to be all the way pushed back to get the camera to know that it was fully rotated. So not only was it blocked, it was upside down. And vlogging with that is just, it's like almost impossible. You know, like I'll be like this and then my head's cut off, I'm like talking, and then I would have to reshoot the entire thing over. You know, it was really frustrating. But with the M50, it's just a breeze. Setup would be really quick for this. Literally put the mic on, plug it in, flip the screen, and then maybe put the tripod on, and then I was good to go. And then what's cool too is that the record button's right here. So I literally have my finger right there, record, and then stop recording, compared to the M6 where the record button's on the back. So I would have to put that weird setup on there, click it, and then turn it on. Overall, the M50 is going to be the better choice when it comes to vlogging. The M6 is still a great camera. It's just those little design issues that just kind of, you know, just don't work out if you want to put an external mic on there. It's a overall better camera in terms of features and the way that it was designed. And just to let you guys know, Canon also sells these lens adapters that you can buy from them, which basically you can attach them to this body and you can use Canon's other lenses. Like you can also put a nifty 50 on here, and basically you'll have a M50 with a nifty 50 on it, and you can get great bokeh on your videos and your photos. So that's what's really cool about, you know, the M50, the compatibility with the lens adapter. I'll have a link to both of these cameras in the description if you want to check them out, and I'll also have a link to those flash brackets turned into mic brackets also in the description. I also have like any recommendations if I find anything better than that. Both of these will be in the description, along with the gear I use, like the mic and the tripod. Anyways, I'm gonna end this video here because it's getting dark and I'm getting hungry. Thank you guys for watching. Check out my other videos on the channel. Like, comment, and subscribe. But let me know in the comments what you guys think about both these cameras, and any thoughts about what I talked about in the video. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll catch you later.